"Permission to move out and engage, sir." Marcos's voice crackled with urgency over the cones. His tone carried a trembling edge, the kind born of too many hours trapped under fire. I pressed my lips together, staring across the no-man's land of dust and fire. The mercenaries' lines shimmered in the heat. If we left the trenches now, their weapons would scythe us down before we even raised a rifle. "I don't think that's such a good idea," I answered, trying to keep my voice calm. My eyes flipped to Martha at her command station, her brow furrowed as she monitored the enemy's movements. She gave the faintest nod. She agreed. "We shall retreat to the city," Murga's voice boomed over the network. It was steady, but I caught the heaviness behind it. A retreat wasn't a plan, it was a slow death. "The city is too far, sir." I cut in harsher than I intended. "They'll mow us down before we get halfway there." But I hesitated, the words forming in my chest like a sin. "I want to say something." Martha's eyes locked on mine. She saw the gamble behind my silence before I even spoke it aloud. She turned her cum toward Murga. "Mesfin has a point. If we retreat, we need to control how they follow." The words felt like stones on my tongue. "We would use our own soldiers as bait." Orders rippled out. The right and left flanks began to retreat, their movements slow and deliberate, dragging dust clouds in their wake. I pressed flat into the trench, my body humming with dread. "Falling for it," I whispered. Across the valley, the mercenaries surged forward like wolves catching the scent of blood. "Stay low," I breathed to my men. My heart hammered against my ribs. I thought of the faces around me, not soldiers, not really farmers, students, mechanics, and here I was, asking them to lie still and wait for the moment to kill. For a long second, I wondered if that made me any different from the soulless mercenaries advancing on us. The mercenaries crept closer, their confidence swelling. My knuckles whitened on my rifle. I heard one of my fighters, Tades, whisper a shaky prayer beside me. When they reached the invisible line I'd drawn in my mind, I swallowed hard and screamed. Now! We erupted from the trenches like demons from the red dust, unleashing a storm of fire. The valley echoed with thunder, smoke, and screaming. The mercenaries faltered, stumbling under the sudden barrage. Their tight formation fractured, and panic rippled through their lines. "Keep firing. Don't let them regroup." Martha's command cut through the chaos. Her voice was iron. The mercenaries began to retreat, dragging their wounded with them. Victory clawed its way into our grasp. But it was victory painted red. When the last shot fell silent, the air reeked of smoke and blood. I stumbled out of the trench, chest heaving. Around me, our fighters were cheering, some laughing in wild relief. But my eyes fell on the ones who would never rise again, lay in the dust a few feet from where I'd given the signal. A neat hole in his chest, his prayer unfinished. His hand still clutched his rifle, as if even death hadn't convinced him to let go. The cheers rang, hollow in my ears. My stomach twisted. I had set the trap, and he had paid for it. Martha came to stand beside me, her shoulders tense. "We did it," she said softly. There was no triumph in her voice, only relief laced with grief. "Yes," I murmured, staring down at Tadeusz's still face. "But at what cost?" Marcos approached, his face pale. "Report says we lost 32, dozens more wounded." His jaw clenched as his eyes swept the dead. "Some of them kids, Mesfin." His words cut deeper than any blade. I turned away, forcing myself to keep standing. Leaders weren't allowed to collapse. Not here. Not now. "We'll remember them," I said hoarsely, though the promise felt like ashes in my mouth. "We'll honor them." Martha put a hand on my shoulder. Her touch was firm, grounding. "We will. But right now we need to prepare for the next wave." This war isn't over. I drew in a sharp breath, forcing steel into my spine. Then we train them better. We arm them better. No more wasting lives on old rifles and desperation. If I'm going to gamble again, it won't be with unprepared men and women. The Martian sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the battlefield. Behind us, the survivors gathered, faces weary but alight with the fragile spark of hope. I looked back at the dead one last time before turning to the living. "Let's get to work," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "We have a future to protect."